Welcome to Sarah Wood's Tale, where stories comes alive. Please do well to hit that subscription button and turn on your notification bell for subsequent stories. The taxi rolled to a stop in front of the massive Carter mansion, its iron gates standing tall, like silent guards protecting the wealth and secrets inside. Hannah Miller took a deep breath, tightening her grip on the small, worn-out suitcase in her lap. "This is it," she whispered to herself, stepping out of the car. She had seen the house in pictures before, but nothing compared to standing in front of it. The white walls gleamed under the Nairobi sun, and the well-manicured garden stretched far beyond what she could see. It looked like something out of a dream. But Hannah knew this wasn't a dream. This was a mission. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw the name Dawson flashing on the screen. She hesitated before answering. "You're there, aren't you?" Richard Dawson's cold voice came through the phone. "Yes," she replied, glancing at the house. "Good. Remember, you're not there to play house. Get close, gain their trust, and find out Edward Carter's weaknesses. I don't care how nice they seem. People like them deserve to fall." Hannah swallowed, feeling a small knot in her stomach. "I understand. No distractions, Hannah. No attachments. I know. Do your job or you'll regret it." The line went dead. Hannah clenched her fist. No distractions. No attachments. She repeated the words in her head as she walked toward the front door. The door swung open before Hannah could knock, and a tall, well-dressed woman stood before her. Olivia Carter had a warm smile, her brown eyes kind and inviting. "You must be Hannah," Olivia said, stepping aside. "Come in, dear. You must be exhausted from the journey." Hannah blinked, not expecting such immediate warmth. She had prepared for coldness, suspicion, or arrogance, the kind of attitude rich people often had toward maids. But Olivia was different. "Ah, thank you, she said, stepping inside. "Please, call me Olivia," the woman corrected, leading her through the grand hallway. The marble floors gleamed, and elegant chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The house smelled of fresh flowers and vanilla. "You'll have your own room upstairs, just down the hall from the kitchen. It's not too big, but it's comfortable," Olivia continued, smiling as she walked. "A room?" Hannah asked, surprised. Olivia turned to her. "Of course, dear. Where else would you sleep?" "I just thought." Hannah trailed off, shaking her head. "Never mind. Thank you." She followed Olivia up the staircase, trying to ignore the strange feeling inside her. She had worked as a maid before, but no employer had ever treated her like this. "This will be your room," Olivia said, opening a door. Hannah stepped inside and froze. The room was small but cozy. A soft bed with clean sheets, a wooden desk, and a window that let in warm sunlight. "I hope it's all right," Olivia said. "It's perfect," Hannah replied. "Good. I'll let you settle in. Dinner is at 7, and you're welcome to eat with us." Hannah's eyes widened. "Eat, with you?" "Yes," Olivia chuckled. "We treat our staff like family here." With that, she left the room, closing the door gently behind her. Hannah sat on the bed, staring at the walls. "This is going to be harder than I thought." Hannah spent the next few days doing exactly what she was hired to do, cleaning, cooking, and running errands. But in between, she kept her eyes and ears open, searching for anything useful. She observed Edward Carter, the man Dawson wanted to destroy. He was serious, always working, but not unkind. He treated his family well and even thanked the staff when they did a good job. Then there was Emma, the teenage daughter. At first, Hannah expected her to be spoiled and rude, but she was surprisingly friendly. She often chatted with Hannah, telling her stories about school and her friends. And Michael, the eldest son, was quiet and observant. He didn't talk much, but Hannah noticed the way he watched her sometimes, like he didn't fully trust her. One evening, after dinner, Hannah excused herself and went to her room. She locked the door, pulled out her phone, and dialed Dawson's number. "Finally. I was beginning to think you forgot about me," Dawson sneered. "I've been busy," Hannah whispered. "I don't care. Tell me what you found." Hannah hesitated before speaking. "Edward Carter is careful. He doesn't talk about business much at home, and he's not as arrogant as you said. Of course, he won't show that side to his family. Dig deeper. Find his weak spot." Dawson snapped. Hannah swallowed. "There's nothing yet, but I'll keep looking." "You better. Don't forget what's at stake, Hannah. You owe me." The call ended. Hannah exhaled shakily, tossing the phone onto the bed. She knew she owed Dawson. He had helped her when no one else did. But for the first time, she wondered if she was doing the right thing. She looked around the room Olivia had given her, thought about Emma's laughter, and remembered the way Edward treated her with respect. Could she really betray these people? Shaking her head, she whispered, "No distractions. No attachments." But deep inside, she knew it was already too late. It had been 3 weeks since Hannah started working in the Carter household. Every day, her mission became harder. The more time she spent with the family, the more guilt gnawed at her. One evening, as she finished setting the dining table, Emma Carter walked in, her face pale. "Hey, Hannah," she said softly, pulling out a chair and sitting down. Hannah glanced at her. "You okay?" Emma let out a shaky sigh. "Not really. Do you have a minute?" Hannah hesitated. She wasn't supposed to get too close. But Emma looked vulnerable, and something inside her told her to listen. "Of course," Hannah said, sitting across from her. Emma ran a hand through her dark brown hair. "I don't usually talk about personal stuff, but I feel like you actually listen." Hannah's chest tightened. She wasn't supposed to be Emma's confidant. Yet, here she was. "You can talk to me," Hannah said gently. Emma bit her lip. I feel so lost. My dad expects so much from me, you know? He's always busy with work, and when he's not, he's talking about my future, my grades, my behavior. It's like I can't make a mistake." Hannah frowned. "He seems like he cares about you." "He does, but it's exhausting," Emma admitted. "I don't even know what I want to do with my life, and I feel like if I mess up, I'll disappoint him. I wish he could just see me, not who he wants me to be." Hannah knew that feeling all too well. She had spent years trying to prove herself to people who only saw what they wanted. "I think he does see you," Hannah said after a moment. "Maybe he just doesn't know how to show it." Emma scoffed. "You sound like my mom." Hannah smiled. "Maybe your mom is right." Emma laughed, shaking her head. "Maybe." She sighed. "Anyway, thanks for listening. I don't really talk to anyone about this stuff." Hannah nodded, but inside, she felt torn. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to care. Yet, she did. The next afternoon, Hannah was in the kitchen when she heard voices raised in the hallway. "She stole it. I saw her." Hannah froze, recognizing the voice of Margaret, one of the older maids. Curious and slightly nervous, Hannah stepped into the hallway. Margaret stood near the staircase, arms crossed, glaring at her. Olivia Carter stood beside her, frowning. "What's going on?" Hannah asked carefully. Margaret pointed at her. "Don't act innocent. I saw you near Madame Olivia's jewelry box yesterday. Now one of her bracelets is missing." Hannah's stomach dropped. She had never stolen anything in her life. "I didn't take anything," she said firmly. Margaret scoffed. "You're new here. How do we know you're not just another thief?" "That's enough, Margaret," Olivia said sharply. Margaret turned to her. "Madam, we should at least check her room. If she's innocent, she won't mind." Hannah's hands clenched into fists. The accusation stung more than she expected. She wanted to scream that she wasn't a thief, but wasn't she worse? Wasn't she here to betray them? "Check my room," she said finally. "I have nothing to hide." Olivia sighed. "No one is searching anyone's room." She looked at Margaret. "I trust Hannah. She has done nothing to make me doubt her." Margaret frowned. "But—" "No buts," Olivia said firmly. "I will not allow false accusations in my house." Margaret pursed her lips but nodded. "Understood." She shot Hannah a glare before walking away. Hannah turned to Olivia, feeling a lump in her throat. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Olivia said. "I know good people when I see them." She smiled. "Now, go back to work, dear. Dinner won't cook itself." As Olivia walked away, Hannah stood frozen. She had come into this house expecting to find cruel, selfish people. Instead, she found a woman who defended her, a girl who confided in her, and a family that treated her like one of their own. For the first time, doubt crept into her mind. What if Dawson was wrong? That night, Hannah sat in her room, staring at her phone. She had to talk to Dawson. With a deep breath, she dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. Finally, "Do you have something useful to tell me?" Hannah hesitated. "I want to know the truth." "What are you talking about?" Dawson snapped. "About Edward Carter. You said he ruined your life, but I've been here for weeks, and he doesn't seem like the kind of man who would do that. Dawson let out a bitter laugh. That's because he's a liar, Hannah. He hides behind his money and charm, but he's ruthless underneath. He destroyed my business, stole my clients, and left me with nothing. Hannah frowned. Are you sure it was him? Edward doesn't seem like the type. I don't pay you to question me, Dawson interrupted coldly. I pay you to bring me results. Hannah's grip on the phone tightened. I just need to be sure. Maybe someone else. Enough. Dawson's voice turned dangerous. You're starting to sound like them. Don't forget who took you in when you had nowhere to go. Don't forget what you owe me. Hannah swallowed hard. He was right. She did owe him. But what if she had been fighting the wrong battle all along? The next day, Hannah couldn't focus. Doubt clouded her mind, and for the first time, she felt completely lost. That night, as she lay in bed, her phone buzzed. It was Dawson again. She hesitated before answering. Are you having second thoughts? Dawson's voice was eerily calm. Hannah closed her eyes. Let me make this clear, Hannah. If you fail me, I will make sure you regret it. Her blood ran cold. Are you threatening me? Dawson chuckled darkly. I don't make threats. I make promises. Hannah gripped the phone, her hands shaking. You said Edward Carter ruined you. What if you were wrong? Dawson's voice dropped to a whisper. Don't make me regret trusting you. The line went dead. Hannah stared at her phone, her heart pounding. She was running out of time. She had to make a choice. But no matter what she chose, someone was going to get hurt. Hannah couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in her chest. Dawson's words still rang in her ears. Don't make me regret trusting you. She had spent weeks in the Carter household, searching for proof of Edward Carter's wrongdoing. But the more she saw, the more she realized Dawson had lied. Edward wasn't the villain. He was a man who worked hard for his family, a man who treated his employees with respect. If Dawson wasn't telling the truth, then what else had he lied about? Determined, Hannah decided to dig deeper. She began searching through the old newspaper archives on her phone late at night. If Dawson's story was true, they had to be records of Edward's alleged crimes. Hours passed, and just when she was about to give up, she found something. An old article from 10 years ago. The headline made her breath hitch. Business tycoon Richard Dawson caught in corporate fraud scandal. Heart racing, she read on. The article explained that Dawson had been involved in an embezzlement case, siphoning funds from investors and blaming a rival business, Carter Enterprises, to cover his tracks. Edward Carter had been the real victim. Dawson had framed him to avoid punishment. Tears burned in Hannah's eyes. She had been working for a liar, a manipulator. She had almost destroyed an innocent man's family. Hannah knew she had to act fast, but she couldn't do it alone. She needed help. And there was only one person in the Carter household smart enough and suspicious enough to help her. Michael. Michael Carter had never fully trusted Hannah. From the moment she arrived, something about her had seemed off. So when she knocked on his door late that night, he wasn't surprised. What do you want? He asked, arms crossed. Hannah hesitated. She knew this was a risk, but she had no other choice. I need to talk to you. It's important, she said. Michael studied her for a long moment before stepping aside. Come in. Hannah entered his room, taking a deep breath. I don't have much time, so I'll get straight to the point. I haven't been honest with you or your family. Michael's jaw tightened. I knew it. Dawson sent me, she admitted. He told me your father ruined his life, and he wanted me to gather information to destroy him. But I found proof that it was a lie. Dawson was the one who destroyed your father's business years ago. Michael's expression darkened. You expect me to believe that? I have proof, she said quickly, pulling up the old article on her phone and handing it to him. Michael read it in silence. His face hardened. So, you were spying on us, he said coldly. Hannah swallowed. I was. But I swear, I didn't know the truth. When I found out, I knew I had to stop him. Michael let out a slow breath, rubbing his forehead. You're telling me Dawson has been lying this whole time? Yes, and he's not going to stop. We have to expose him before he does something worse. Michael's eyes narrowed. Why should I trust you? Because I could have stayed silent, Hannah said. I could have completed my mission and walked away. But I didn't. I want to fix what I almost ruined. Michael studied her for a long moment, then sighed. All right, but if you betray us again, I won't forgive you. I won't, Hannah promised. Together, they began planning how to take Dawson down. The next day, Hannah and Michael began gathering more evidence against Dawson. They contacted an old journalist who had worked on Dawson's fraud case years ago. He provided them with documents proving Dawson's crimes. It was enough to take Dawson down for good. But they weren't fast enough. Dawson must have sensed something was wrong because that evening, Hannah's phone rang. She answered cautiously. "Hello." A chilling voice responded. "You made a big mistake, Hannah." Her blood ran cold. "Dawson. You think you're clever." Dawson's voice was dangerously calm. "I warned you not to betray me." Hannah's hands trembled. "What do you want?" Dawson chuckled. "You'll find out soon enough." Then the line went dead. A sick feeling settled in her stomach. Something was wrong. Suddenly, a scream echoed from downstairs. Hannah ran toward the sound, her heart pounding. When she reached the living room, Olivia and Edward were already there, panic on their faces. "Emma's gone." Olivia cried. "She was in the garden, and now she's gone." Hannah's world tilted. Dawson had taken her. Hannah's phone buzzed again. She answered without hesitation. Dawson's voice was laced with amusement. "Now do I have your attention? Where is she?" Hannah shouted. "She's safe, for now," Dawson said. "But that depends on you." Hannah's fists clenched. "Let her go, Dawson." "I will," Dawson said smoothly. "But only if you do exactly as I say." Michael, who had been listening beside her, grabbed the phone and growled. "If you hurt my sister." Dawson laughed. "Relax, Michael. I don't want to hurt her. I just want what I'm owed. Hannah, if you don't want anything to happen to Emma, meet me at the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Alone." Michael snatched the phone. "If you think we're letting Hannah go to you alone, you're insane." Dawson's tone darkened. "If anyone else shows up, Emma pays the price." Then the call ended. Hannah's heart raced. "I have to go." Michael grabbed her arm. "No. It's a trap." "I don't have a choice," she cried. "This is my fault. If I don't go, he'll hurt her." Michael's jaw tightened. "Then we're coming with you. We'll find a way to stop him." Hannah hesitated. She didn't want anyone else in danger, but she couldn't do this alone. "Fine," she said. "But we need a plan." Michael nodded. "Then let's go get my sister back." And with that, the real battle began. Hannah's heart pounded as she, Michael, and Detective Walker drove toward the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The detective, a tall man with sharp blue eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, had been skeptical when Michael first approached him. But when Hannah and Michael showed him the evidence of Dawson's past crimes, he agreed to help. "You're sure he's inside?" Walker asked as he parked the car a safe distance away. Hannah nodded. "He told me to come alone, but I know he's expecting something. He won't go down without a fight." Michael clenched his fists. "I swear, if he's hurt Emma." Walker placed a reassuring hand on Michael's shoulder. "We'll get her back." The detective signaled to his backup, who were stationed around the perimeter. They had planned everything carefully. The goal was to rescue Emma and take Dawson down without bloodshed. Hannah took a deep breath. "Let's do this." They entered the warehouse cautiously, the air thick with dust and the faint smell of oil. Dim light flickered from a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. Then Hannah saw her. Emma was tied to a chair in the center of the room, her wrists bound, her mouth gagged. Her wide, terrified eyes met Hannah's, and for a moment, relief washed over her face. But standing beside her, smirking, was Dawson. "Right on time," Dawson said, holding a gun loosely in one hand. His gaze flickered to Michael and Walker. "I told you to come alone, Hannah." Hannah stepped forward, ignoring the way her hands trembled. "Let her go, Dawson. It's over." Dawson chuckled. "Oh, I don't think so. You really think you've won?" He turned his gun toward Emma. "One wrong move, and she doesn't leave this warehouse alive." Michael's jaw tightened. "You're a coward." Dawson ignored him, his gaze locked on Hannah. "You betrayed me," he said. "After everything I did for you." "You lied to me," Hannah shot back. "You used me. You made me believe Edward Carter was the enemy when all along, it was you." Dawson's expression darkened. "You don't know anything, girl." Detective Walker took a step forward, his gun drawn. "Dawson, put the weapon down. You're surrounded. There's no way out." Dawson let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, but there is." In a sudden move, he grabbed Emma by the arm and yanked her up, pressing the gun to her temple. Let me walk out of here, or she dies, he warned. Emma whimpered, her body shaking. Hannah felt her breath catch in her throat. Don't do this, Hannah pleaded. You don't have to go down like this. Dawson's eyes flickered with something. Fear, desperation, regret. But it was gone in a second. I'm not going to prison, he snarled. Walker held up a hand. Dawson, think about this. Kidnapping, extortion, attempted murder. You're already looking at a life sentence. If you hurt that girl, you'll never see the outside world again. Dawson's grip tightened on Emma. I don't care. Michael took a step forward. You don't have a choice. And then, bang. A single gunshot rang out. For a split second, everything went still. Then Dawson staggered backward, his weapon clattering to the floor. He clutched his shoulder, where blood began to seep through his shirt. Walker lowered his gun. Suspect down. Move in. Within seconds, officers stormed the warehouse, securing Dawson in handcuffs. Emma collapsed into Michael's arms, sobbing. Hannah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It was over. Hours later, at the Carter mansion, Hannah sat on the couch, staring at her hands. She had confessed everything to the family. The lies, the spying, the truth about Dawson. And now, she waited. She expected anger, hatred, for them to throw her out and never look back. Instead, Olivia sat beside her and took her hand. You saved my daughter's life, she said softly. That means more to me than anything. But Hannah's voice broke. I came here to destroy you. And instead, you saved us, Edward said, standing across from her. People make mistakes, Hannah. What matters is that you chose to do the right thing in the end. Tears welled up in her eyes. I don't deserve your kindness. Michael, who had been leaning against the wall, sighed. Maybe not. But you earned it. Emma smiled at her. Your family now. Hannah let out a shaky breath. She had spent so much of her life believing she was nothing more than a tool for others to use. But the Carters had shown her something different. They had shown her that kindness could change even the most broken soul. And for the first time in a long time, Hannah felt whole. A month later, Hannah stood outside Carter Enterprises, a folder tucked under her arm. Edward had given her a job in his company, a fresh start. She wasn't the same person who had walked into their home weeks ago, ready to betray them. She was someone new, someone better. And as she stepped inside, she knew one thing for certain. Her past didn't define her anymore. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to get more interesting stories like this.